An institution is any structure or mechanism of social order governing the behavior of a set of individuals within a given community. May it be human or a specific animal one. Institutions are identified with a social purpose, transcending individuals and intentions by mediating the rules that govern living behavior. The term institution is commonly applied to customs and behavior patterns important to a society, as well as to particular formal organizations of government and public services. As structures and mechanisms of social order among certain species, institutions are one of the principal objects of study in the social sciences, such as political science, anthropology, economics, and sociology. Institutions are also a central concern for law, the formal mechanism for political rule-making and enforcement. Examples of institutions: marriage and the family, sociology of the family, religion and religious institutions, see sociology of religion. Civil religion, educational institutions, schools, research community, academia and universities. Research institutes, see sociology of science, medicine, hospitals and other healthcare institutions, see sociology of health and illness, medical sociology, psychiatric hospitals. Law and legal system, courts. Judges. The legal profession, see jurisprudence, philosophy of law, sociology of law, criminal justice or penal systems, prisons, see sociology of punishment. Military or paramilitary forces, see military sociology, police forces, mass media, including the news media and the popular media, see media studies. Industry, businesses, including corporations, see financial institution, factory, capitalism, division of labor, social class, industrial sociology, civil society or NGOs, charitable organizations. Advocacy groups. Political parties. Think tanks. Virtual communities, in an extended context, art and culture, language, the nation-state. Social and political scientists often speak of the state as embodying all institutions such as schools, prisons, and so on. However, these institutions may be considered private or autonomous, whilst organized religion and family life certainly predate the advent of the nation-state. In the neo-Marxist thought of Antonio Gramsci, for instance, a distinction may be felt between the institutions of political society which dominates directly and coercively, and civil society, for example in SCHENCKV. United States, the circumstance of which made this speech case special. In some circumstances, individuals can be considered institutions if they are responsible for creating motifs or worldwide phenomena. Examples of this include Stanley Kubrick, Nelson Mandela, and Gandhi. Aspects of institutions, although individual, formal organizations, commonly identified as institutions, may be deliberately and intentionally created by people. The development and function of institutions in society in general may be regarded as an instance of emergence. That is, institutions arise, develop and function in a pattern of social self-organization, which goes beyond the conscious intentions of the individual humans involved. As mechanisms of social interaction, institutions manifest in both formal organizations, such as the U.S. Congress, or the Roman Catholic Church, and, also, in informal social order and organization, reflecting human psychology, culture, habits and customs, and encompassing subjective experience of meaningful enactments. Most important institutions, considered abstractly, have both objective and subjective aspects. Examples include money and marriage. The institution of money encompasses many formal organizations, including banks and government treasury departments and stock exchanges, which may be termed institutions, as well as subjective experiences, which guide people in their pursuit of personal well-being. Powerful institutions are able to imbue a paper currency with certain value, and to induce millions into production and trade in pursuit of economic ends abstractly denominated in that currency's units. The subjective experience of money is so pervasive and persuasive that economists talk of the money illusion, and try to disabuse their students of it, in preparation for learning economic analysis. Perspectives of the social sciences. while institutions tend to appear to people in society as part of the natural, unchanging landscape of their lives, study of institutions by the social sciences tends to reveal the nature of institutions as social constructions, artifacts of a particular time, culture and society, produced by collective human choice, though not directly by individual intention. Sociology traditionally analyzed social institutions in terms of interlocking social roles and expectations. Social institutions created and were composed of groups of roles, or expected behaviors. The social function of the institution was executed by the fulfillment of roles. Basic biological requirements, for reproduction and care of the young, are served by the institutions of marriage and family, for example, by creating, elaborating and prescribing the behaviors expected for husband-father, wife-mother, child, etc. The relationship of institutions to human nature is a foundational question for the social sciences. Institutions can be seen as naturally arising from, and conforming to, human nature. A fundamentally conservative view. Or institutions can be seen as artificial, almost accidental, and in need of architectural redesign, informed by expert social analysis, to better serve human needs. A fundamentally progressive view. Adam Smith anchored his economics in the supposed human propensity to truck, barter and exchange. Modern feminists have criticized traditional marriage and other institutions as element of an oppressive and obsolete patriarchy. The Marxist view, which sees human nature as historically evolving towards voluntary social cooperation, shared by some anarchists, is that supra-individual institutions such as the market and the state are incompatible with the individual liberty which would obtain in a truly free society. Economics, in recent years, has used game theory to study institutions from two perspectives. Firstly, how do institutions survive and evolve? In this perspective, institutions arise from Nash equilibria of games. For example, whenever people pass each other in a corridor or thoroughfare, there is a need for customs, which avoid collisions. Such a custom might call for each party to keep to their own right. Such customs may be supposed to be the origin of rules, such as the rule, adopted in many countries, which requires driving automobiles on the right side of the road. Secondly, how do institutions affect behavior? In this perspective, the focus is on behavior arising from a given set of institutional rules. In these models, institutions determine the rules of games, rather than arise as equilibria out of games. For example, the Cournot Duopoly model is based on an institution involving an auctioneer who sells all goods at the market clearing price. While it is always possible to analyze behavior with the institutions as equilibria approach instead, it is much more complicated. In political science, the effect of institutions on behavior has also been considered from a meme perspective, like game theory borrowed from biology. A mimetic institutionalism has been proposed, suggesting that institutions provide selection environments for political action, whereby differentiated retention arises and thereby a Darwinian evolution of institutions over time. Public choice theory, another branch of economics with a close relationship to political science, considers how government policy choices are made, and seeks to determine what the policy outputs are likely to be, given a particular political decision-making process and context. In history, a distinction between eras or periods implies a major and fundamental change in the system of institutions governing a society. Political and military events are judged to be of historical significance to the extent that they are associated with changes in institutions. In European history, particular significance is attached to the long transition from the feudal institutions of the Middle Ages to the modern institutions, which govern contemporary life. Institutional rigidity. Ian Lustig suggests that the social sciences, particularly those with the institution as a central concept, can benefit by applying the concept of natural selection to the study of how institutions change over time. By viewing institutions as existing within a fitness landscape, Lustig argues that the gradual improvements typical of many institutions can be seen as analogous to hill climbing within one of these fitness landscapes. This can eventually lead to institutions becoming stuck on local maxima, such that in order for the institution to improve any further, it would first need to decrease its overall fitness score. The tendency to get stuck on local maxima can explain why certain types of institutions may continue to have policies that are harmful to its members or to the institution itself, even when members and leadership are all aware of the faults of these policies. As an example, Lustig cites Ehrmacht's analysis of the gradual rise of the Japanese economy and its seemingly sudden reversal in the so-called lost decade. According to Ehrmacht, Japanese experts were not unaware of the possible causes of Japan's economic decline. Rather, to return Japan's economy back to the path to economic prosperity, policymakers would have had to adopt policies that would first cause short-term harm to the Japanese people and government. 17. Under this analysis, says Ian Lustig, Japan was stuck on a local maxima, which it arrived at through gradual increases in its fitness level, set by the economic landscape of the 1970s and 80s. Without an accompanying change in institutional flexibility, Japan was unable to adapt to changing conditions, and even though experts may have known which changes needed to be made, they would have been virtually powerless to enact those changes without instituting unpopular policies which would have been harmful in the short term. The lessons from Lustig's analysis applied to Japan's economic situation can similarly apply to the political gridlock that often characterizes politics in the United States. For example, Lustig observes that any politician who hopes to run for elected office stands very little to no chance if they enact policies which do not show short-term results. Unfortunately, there is a mismatch between policies which can bring about short-term benefits with minimal sacrifice, and those which can bring about long-lasting change by encouraging institution-level adaptations. There are some criticisms to Lustig's application of natural selection theory to institutional change. Lustig himself notes that identifying the inability of institutions to adapt as a symptom of being stuck on a local maxima within a fitness landscape does nothing to solve the problem. At the very least, however, it might add credibility to the idea that truly beneficial change might require short-term harm to institutions and their members. David Sloan Wilson notes that Lustig needs to more carefully distinguish between two concepts, multi-level selection theory and evolution on multi-peak landscapes. Bradley Thayer points out that the concept of a fitness landscape and local maxima only makes sense if one institution can be said to be better than another, and this in turn only makes sense insofar as there exists some objective measure of an institution's quality. This may be relatively simple in evaluating the economic prosperity of a society, for example, but it is difficult to see how objectively a measure can be applied to the amount of freedom of a society, or the quality of life of the individuals within. Institutionalization. The term institutionalization is widely used in social theory to refer to the process of embedding something within an organization, social system, or society as a whole. The term may also be used to refer to committing a particular individual to an institution, such as a mental institution. To this extent, institutionalization may carry negative connotations regarding the treatment of, and damage caused to, vulnerable human beings by the oppressive or corrupt application of inflexible systems of social, medical, or legal controls by publicly owned, private or not-for-profit organizations. The term institutionalization may also be used in a political sense to apply to the creation or organization of governmental institutions or particular bodies responsible for overseeing or implementing policy, for example in welfare or development. See also, actor analysis, academic institution, state, nation, country, sovereign state, historical institutionalism, ideological state apparatus, institute, institutional abuse, institutional economics, institutional logic, institutional memory, linkage institution, references. Bibliography, Berger, P. L. and T. Luckman, The Social Construction of Reality, A Treatise in the Sociology of Knowledge, Anchor Books, Garden City, N.Y. Chang, Ha-Jun, Institutional Change and Economic Development, Anthem Press. Grief, Avner, Institutions and the Path to the Modern Economy, Lessons from Medieval Trade, Cambridge University Press, ISBN 978-0-521-67134-7. North, D.C., Institutions, Institutional Change and Economic Performance. Cambridge University Press, Cambridge. Schotter, A., The Economic Theory of Social Institutions. Cambridge University Press, Cambridge. Further reading, Report of the Committee of Inquiry into Allegations of Ill-Treatment of Patients and Other Irregularities at the Ely Hospital, Cardiff, HMSO 1969, extracts of the Report of the Committee of Inquiry into Normansfield Hospital, British Medical Journal, 1978, 2, 1560–1563, White, William H., The Organisation Man, Doubleday Publishing, 1956. The Production and Reproduction of Scandals in Chronic Sector Hospitals, Amy Munson, Berkshire, 1981, Social Institutions, Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy.